It's good day to brew, baby. What is up, YouTube? It's your boy Millsy. Back phone down, Commander. Back for another episode of Millsy Brews, the show where I brew version 1.0 decklist of the Commander in front of us on my quest to brew the magic world. You know the motto, baby. It's ABB, always be brewing, and that's what we're back to do today. The decklist is going to be down in the description for you below, as well as I'd really appreciate it if you could interact with the video, like, comment, subscribe, consider checking out the links in the description. I'd appreciate it. But today, we're keeping on Aether Drift, and we're covering some commanders from Avishkar's past. And I thought with the new Gonti coming out, which we're actually going to cover tomorrow, I thought it'd be fun to come back and look at the Gonti from the OTJ precons, because it's a very popular version of Gonti, and talk about Gonti, Canny, Acquisitor. A 5-mana Sultai Aetherborn Rogue, 5/5. The spells you cast but do not own cost 1 less. And whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, we can look at the top card of that player's library and exile it face down, and we can play that card for as long as it remains in exile and spend mana of any type to cast it. So another one of these theft style cards, which again is what the new one is, which we're both going to talk about in this video and tomorrow's. So the goal is to get in to hit our opponents so we can take their things and play them, and then make sure that as we're playing them, we're getting value from playing them. And then we'll talk about other ways we can actually take our opponents, spells as well. It's not just going to be just Gonti's ability. There's some ways to do it. But I think some of the better ways to focus on getting them is by making sure that we're playing creatures that can't be blocked or that are less able to be blockable. Kaito, Cunning Infiltrator can actually give a creature unblockable till the turn. Very interesting ability, especially for our bigger creatures. Kaito Shizuki can make ninja tokens that just can't be blocked, and then can draw some cards for you if you attack this turn. Cephalid Face Taker at the start of our turn can become a copy of any other target creature until end of turn, except it's a 1/4 and can't be blocked. So could get an interesting ability right from getting copied. Changeling Outcast just can't be blocked, so it's a nice way to make sure we get multiple cards per turn, right? Just hitting somebody for one. Cold Eye Selkie has Island Walk and can draw some cards whenever we hit somebody. But again, the point there is if somebody has an island, great. It's gonna get in, right, and get the damage in for sure. So another card there. Fallen Shinobi has Ninjutsu, an ability we can take advantage of. If something's getting in unblocked, like something like Changeling Outcast, we can pay the mana to get Shinobi in unblocked, right, and get that ability. Here it is whenever it does come into a player. We get to exile the top 2 of their library, and until end of turn, we can play those cards without paying their mana cost. So this is really nice to get, again, just some extra things that we can take advantage of. Felix 5 Boots is going to double up on all triggered abilities that us hitting a player in combat would trigger. So that's going to actually trigger Gonti twice, including some other things like Gix. Whenever a creature we control deals damage to one of our opponents. Whenever a creature deals damage to one of our opponents, its controller may pay a life and draw a card. Can obviously benefit our opponents if they want to use it, but also can help us draw through our deck into more things. Nashi is another ninjutsu creature for us. When it hits a player, you exile the top card of each player's library until the end of turn. We can play one of them, and we can pay life rather than its mana value, which is interesting, right, depending on what we hit. Nightveil Spectre, whenever it hits a player, we can exile the top card of that player's library, and we can play those cards that we have as long as Nightveil Spectre's out. Again, interesting ability, again, just to look at more cards, have more things to deal with. Orochi Soul Reaver says, whenever one or more creatures we control deal combat damage to a player, we make a treasure and manifest the top card of that player's library. So it actually turns it into a 2/2, but if it's a creature, we can turn it face up for its mana cost. Kind of interesting. I mean, sometimes we may hit something good, otherwise we just have more creatures that we're swinging in and hitting people with. Rev Tithe Extractor says whenever we attack, target creature we control gets Death Touch until end of turn. And then whenever one or more of our creatures hit a player, we get to create a treasure and then look at the top card of their library and exile it face down, and we can play it. So again, just more ways to get these cards into exile that we can play. Scion Blade only has that ninjutsu ability, but when it hits a player, we get to look at that player's hand and cast a spell from among them without paying its mana cost. Again, very useful with something like Kaito, just to make it unblockable after it comes down to keep getting that ability. Thada Abdel is very interesting. Whenever it hits a player, we get to search their library for an artifact and exile it, and we can play that card. So it's still a mana rock, could steal something interesting, allows us to go look and find it. Thief of Sanity, whenever it hits a player, we get to look at the top 3 cards of that player's library, exile one of them face down, and we can play that card for as long as they remain exiles and, spend mana of any type. So again, just more theft, more ways to get it, Triton Shorestalker, another one of our few cheap unblockable creatures. Dream Thief's Banana can actually be put on a creature as an equipment. It says whenever that creature deals combat damage to a player, we look at the top card of their library and exile it face down, which is very similar to Gonti's ability, but just on a piece of equipment, which is cool. And then Rogue Class, whenever a creature we control that deals combat, whenever a creature we control deals combat damage to a player, exile the top card of that player's library face down. You may look at it for as long as it remains exiled. And then we have to get Rogue Class up to level 3 to be able to play them, at any time. But the point is you're just getting more cards, amassing more cards to thieve, from our opponents. Brain Stealer Dragon gives us more options to thieve some things. At the beginning of our end step, we exile the top card of each opponent's library. We can play those cards for as long as they remain exiles. And it says whenever a non-land permanent an opponent owns enters the battlefield under our control, they lose life to its mana value. So if we play our opponent's things and it's a permanent, they get to lose some life. Thieving Amalgam manifests the top card of each opponent's deck on their turn, making it a 2/2 for us. And it says whenever a creature we control but don't own dies, its owner loses 2 life and we gain 2 life. So there's a way to get some damage in. Thieving Varmint can help us cast things we don't own by paying a life and getting 2 mana of any one color, which is a nice ability since most of the things tell us we can spend a mana of any color to do it. Arcane Heist says we can cast target instant or sorcery card from an opponent's graveyard without paying its mana cost. And then it has the Cipher ability, meaning that after it resolves, we get to encode it on a creature we control, and whenever that creature deals damage to a player, we get to cast another copy of it. So again, just a great ability, depending on what we're putting it on, to continue casting things out of our opponent's graveyards. Heartless Conscription is a fun board wipe, exiling all creatures, and for each card exiled this way, we can play that card for as long as it remains exiled, and be, used a mana of any color. Again, this is just really fun to, instead of wiping a board, just taking all those creatures away from our opponents and being able to cast them for ourselves. Predator's Hour gives all of our creatures menace, and whenever they hit somebody, we get to exile, do that Gonti effect, exile that card face down, and they're able to play it. Villainous Wealth just lets us go X cards deep into an opponent's library and play any number of spells with mana value X or lesser among them. A fun way to just turn a bunch of mana into a bunch of spells, especially if we have any other things that care about, playing our opponent's things. Outrageous Robbery lets us look at the top X cards of an opponent's library, exile them face down. And we can play them for as long as they remain exiled. And if we cast a spell this way, we can, again, spend mana or mana of any type to cast it. So again, just get a bunch of cards from somebody's library and play them. Court of Lochthwain, beginning of our upkeep, we exile the top card of target opponent's library. We can play that for as long as it remains exiled. But if we're the Monarch, we actually can cast a spell from among cards exiled with Lochthwain without paying its mana cost. So very interesting reason to try to stay the Monarch, if possible. But here we get into trying to pay off the theft. I think the most obvious way is Tasha the Witch Queen from Forgotten Realms, Baldur's Gate. Whenever we cast a spell we don't own, we make a demon token. So there we go, a way to get some creatures on the board. And then Tasha can actually start stealing instant sorceries from somebody's graveyard and casting them without paying its mana cost. So very interesting ability, but the point is start getting those demon tokens whenever we cast a spell we don't own. There's the new Gonti. Again, we'll talk about the new Gonti tomorrow, but whenever a player casts a spell they don't own, they get a treasure. And then same thing, when we hit, we get to exile cards and be able to play them. And then Fortune Teller's Talent lets us look at the top card of our library anytime. Level 2 lets us play off the top. The third one says spells you cast from anywhere other than your hand cost 2 less to cast. So we can actually start making those spells that we're playing from exile even cheaper as well. But I've said it before on the show, and I'll say it again. No deck's ever complete. This is although we did cover Gonti back when OTJ's Commander decks came out, there's still a lot to learn in testing, which is, do we have enough ways to get our creatures in unblockable? Do we need to look into that some more? There's more spells like Extract Brain and Siphon Insight that can get into your opponent's libraries or hands. There's options like that. If we think we need more of those effects. There's also something fun like Xanathar, which can take control of an opponent, the opponent's library, and stops them from casting spells and gets to kind of use their cards and their resources. Could be fun to add on top of this to, again, keep the theft up to a maximum and really punish our opponents from taking their stuffs. The truth is, at the end of the day, the theft decks come with a certain stigma. Some people are going to like it, some people aren't. If you're going to play a theft deck, I advise you be polite at the table you play it if you're not playing with your normal friends. And warn people ahead of time so that way they know what to expect. But let's do what we do best on the channel, getting into our playtest. Remember, the goal of the playtest is not to find magical Christmas land. It's not to determine our best plays. It's to work ourselves through the start of the game and set up our game plan. The truth is, I'm only really going to be able to get our playtest to a certain point, right? Because at a certain point, it's going to come down to what our opponents have. So we'll do our best to get there and then just kind of leave it, once we get up to kind of full speed. Here we're keeping a 1, 2, 3, 4 lander with Silent Hall Creeper, a creature that can't be blocked, and then eventually has to turn into a copy of another creature we control. Beastmaster Ascension to grow our board as we're attacking. Dream Thief's Bandana can again give that ability, and then we see Thada Abdel. So I really like Silent Hall Creeper. I think the only problem is eventually we're going to run out of things to have it copy. So we need to be a little bit careful with when we play it. So I think we're just going to get the Bandana down this turn. Again, the goal was to get the Hall Creeper down once we had something, right, that we could copy it into, and now we can make it copy that Face Taker. So this turn, we can have it draw us a card. So I think we put we put Rev down this turn. It's going to attack, can't be blocked. We'll have it draw us a card. We'll come into the next turn. Now we'll play Gonti. Rev would have made us a treasure, and then we would have got to look at something. So now on our turn, Silent Hall Creeper is going to attack. Let's have it put 2 counters on itself. It's going to get another treasure from Rev and another card. Gonti's going to give it another card. So now we've already got a couple cards. We actually could have equipped it as well on that third turn. I didn't realize, but oh well. And then now in this turn with 6 mana, I like the idea of something like Kaito, but we want to get the Face Taker down. We want to get something done. Well, actually, Kaito could make a ninja, and they could become a copy of the ninja, right? So that's another option. What would we put down as well? Something like Beastmaster Ascension, I guess. Start the board growing. We could go Thada Abdel plus Kaito. I think Kaito's the definite. We'll -2 just because we need something that Silent Hall Creeper can turn into, and I think a 1/1 that can't be blocked seems like another great thing to have, another creature that can't be blocked. I think I'll go Thada just to set it up to attack next turn. Hall Creeper attacks, turn into a copy of the ninja. Again, another treasure. Gonti goes off, Reb goes off, right? So now we're in good shape. Kaito's gonna obviously phase out until our next turn. Phases back in our turn, we see Mimeoplasm. This is just a way to take advantage of, where things die. But here, 6, 9 mana. I like the idea of just Beastmaster Ascension plus Felix. Now, Felix won't double Beastmaster Ascension, but I think this is just nice to get something else down. We can put the Bandana on, I guess, Silent Hall Creeper, since we know we can get it unblocked just like that ninja. And I think we just attack, 5 this turn? Get our Ascension started. This, hopefully, we can attack somebody where it hits for free. Hopefully, Gonti and Rev can both get in for good damage, and the Ninja and the Silent Hall Creeper, right? Both unblockable. So, again, a couple triggers this turn. Now we're starting to really amass things in exile, and I think now we're in good shape. I'll stop here because the truth is I think my next turn would be completely dependent, right, on what we've exiled with Gonti. So we'll stop there on that one. Getting into playtest number 2, keeping a 4-lander with Key to the City, Tower Winder, a card that actually came in this precon with Reach and Death Touch, and when it enters, we can search our library for a command tower, put it into our hand, and then Cunning Rhetoric, where it says whenever our opponent attacks us, we can exile the top card of that library and we can play it. Turn 1, we'll get the Hollow in. Now what we can do there. Turn 2, I guess we'll just run that Tower Winder out. Might as well, right? Go get that command tower, get ourselves access to another land, and get ourselves access to better lands that way. Turn 3, we see a Fortune Teller's Talent. Is there anything else we want to do this turn? But we could do Rogue Class plus it. We could do Key to the Vault plus it. We could do Thada Abdel. I kind of like Rogue Class plus it. Let's just look at our top card, which is a Farseek. Again, we could try to attack with the Tower Winder if we want to. I mean, it may get in, but I doubt it right on turn 3, but if we have it, we might as well use it. Now turn 4 with 4 mana, we want to work our way up towards Gonti right next turn. So I'm kind of thinking the Farseek. But what do I do with the other 2 mana? We can play the Key to the Vault, set that up for a future turn. We can play Thada, but then we're just 1 mana off of Farseek. But we do have the 5th mana for Gonti next turn. So maybe, if we think Thada has a good attack, maybe that's the option. I still feel like the thing to do is the Farseek. Just setting up more mana for future turns. We can play the Key to the Vault. Our top card is a Kadama's Reach now. Interesting. And I think we're in great shape to just keep the bus rolling. Now we have a Curse of the Swine on top, so not a bad place to shuffle our deck if we could. But I think it is it Gonti or is it Thought of Abdel plus the Kadama's Reach? Because I'm trying to think, if I run Gonti out here, it's not like I'm attacking with anything but the Winder this turn. And I don't have anything that particularly good for it. Whereas if I Kadama's Reach, I can shuffle the deck again, get some more ramp, and then maybe have something different off the top is my thought. So here, just go get a to the hand, force to the battlefield. Again, now we get to see. Now Tasha's on top, perfect. So that was a great shuffle for us because now we can set that up hopefully. Here in our next turn, 5, 6, 7, 8 mana. So we're a little bit off playing both Gonti and Tasha, but that's okay. We have a Terra Sunder on top for some removal. Play the Gonti. I'd say Key to the Vault on Thada Abdel, and if we have an attack, perfect, because then we get Thada's ability and we get the Key to the Vault. So let's say we do. We have the key. Let's say we have Thada Abdel unblockable. We get to look at that many cards, and we get to play a non-land from them for free. Well, I guess it's just Terra Sunder, right? Yeah, I mean, I guess hopefully we have a Terra Sunder target. If not, if not, we just put it, is it a May? Yeah, if not, we throw it back on bottom. I guess we didn't think that part through, but that's A-okay. We would have still got the Thada Abdel trigger to maybe go get an artifact, and we would have still exiled something with Gonti. Now coming back to iTurn, we have the Silent Blade Oni, which is great. Silent Blade's one of those cards we really want to see. Sorry, we also would have gotten the Rogue class there as well. So now I'll play the Tasha. We've got 4 mana left. If we had something to play, we could. Otherwise, we could take up the Rogue class, give them all menace. We could take up the talent. Again, I think we're in great shape here. It's just a matter of now seeing what we get off exile, trying to get some more cards into our hand. But let's get into playtest number 3. Keeping a 1, 2, 3, 4-lander with Thieving Varmint for that mana dork ability for the cards that aren't ours. Arcane Denial for some counterplay and Assassin's Trophy, some removal. So not bad, and I think it gets even better with that Soul Ring. Right, and now we can start building our board up. Here we're just 1 turn off that Tasha's, but that's A-okay. We can play the Varmint. And this turn is the Varmint getting in. Because otherwise I think it could be worth just playing Tasha, but I think we play Gonti, right? If the Varmint gets in somewhere, it gets in somewhere. It is a 2-1 Death Toucher, but I doubt it. I think it's just setting up for next turn. 6 mana, I love the idea of getting Nashi in. Trying to ninjutsu it in if possible. But maybe it's just, Tashaing here. +1 to draw a card and exile if we can, but otherwise just drawing a card. And now we're setting up a future turns. Gonti probably still attacks this turn. Maybe it hits, maybe it doesn't. Getting our next turn now with 7 mana. Lots of mana to be had. Grazilax is interesting. Can have our block creatures return back to our hands so they don't die. Now it could make the Varmint maybe worth hitting in with. And then whenever we hit somebody with a creature, we get to draw cards. I think Grazilax could be interesting. 4 mana left. So there's still options in Ninjutsu and Nashi. So I'd say now I would attack with Gonti and the Varmint. If somebody blocks the Varmint, maybe we bounce it back to our hand with the Graz. But if they don't block it, I think we get Nashi in. Right? Graz is going to end us drawing us at least, in that case, it would be at least 1 card, if not 2, depending on whether or not Gonti gets in. Gonti would go off for both of them. Nashi would go off. And we could still tick up Tasha this turn to draw a card. And now we have a nice way to fill our hand. It's just, can we keep siphoning things off from our opponents, right? Here, I like the Lockthwain. I like getting the Varmint back down. And again, just trying to get our creatures in, for that damage. I think the Grazzlaz is nice for Nashi, because if someone blocks Nashi, we can just, bring it back to our hand. And I think we're still in good shape. A little bit less as far as the unblockability goes this playtest, but we've got a lot of payoffs for when we do finally get things, and we've got a lot of removal, right, to deal with our opponents. But let me know, what do you think of Gonti down in the comment section below. Again, a little bit tougher on this one to playtest, since it comes down to so much of what our opponents have. But I think if you like the look of the new Gonti, you just want a little bit more into different colors, I think the Sultai Gonti is perfect for you. But if you saw the new Gonti and you really like it, then tomorrow's episode for you, and I will catch you in that.